someone could do me a favour and just copy and paste the link that they're watching this on now and paste it into a private message to me so I can get it up and I can get the chat up then as well, and that'd be awesome. So thank you very much. Right, let's start again. So you're joined by me, Steve. Mr. Will Champion is with me. Barney couldn't join
Hello.
us because something came up. Will was just introducing himself, so I won't do it this time, Will. I'll let you do it.
I think you did it better. Hello, I'm Will again. It feels like the fourth time we've done this, but it's all good, guys. Um, I've been around the GBHL for about 5 or 6 years now. Love sort of competitive play, always have. Was very lucky to win the league last year by, I think it was 0.2 points. It was super duper close. So I absolutely love my competitive play, but also the sort of hobby side and friendly games and narrative things. Absolutely love SBG and everything about it. And we'll talk about it for a considerable amount of time, as Steve is going to have to endure.
Yeah, well, we're cooking now. I've finally done it.
Are we in there?
We're in. I've got the chat. I've got everything. I can see everyone slagging me off. Yes, it was my fault.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm watching the stream as well now. So I will look everyone mucky too.
Yeah, so like I say, for anyone who didn't hear me the first time, I've had a bit of a nightmare here. First, couldn't get the sound working with Will's laptop, and then for some unknown reason, my browser has frozen. So I'm watching this via the streaming software, but I've now managed to get the chat up, which is great. And I don't want to mess around with the browser in case it cuts off again. So welcome everybody who's come. So Will's introduced himself.
Hello.
Will, we'll just go over what we just went over again. You won the league last year.
Did.
Congratulations again. Are you hoping to retain it?
Probably not. No.
Who do you think's in the running? Who's your biggest threat? Do you think?
So it sounds really awful, but I'm a little bit out of touch with who the good players are now. If you remove the ones that are sort of normally up there, I know that there's quite a lot of talent. One of the great things about the GBHL is that it's always growing, which means there's a lot of new sort of new faces and people coming over from different systems, and so you never really know who the next sort of big champion is, which is really exciting. But up and comers, I don't really know, to be honest.
Do you find that the new people, like you mentioned, people coming in from different systems? Do you find that the newer people now are coming in more with a competitive mindset than, because I think the fluffy players have always been here, and the fluffy guys are the guys that have been around for a long period of time anyway, because of the fans of the genre. But do you find that the newer players now are coming in and are going to find things that us oldies might not have worked out yet with different metas and things like
that? I'm not too sure on the meta, because the people who are sort of near the top tables are always assessing that and sort of respinning the wheel. With the game having existed in a very similar iteration for 20 years now, there aren't too many surprises, and anything that comes out that's new, everybody is seeing at the same time. So I don't think there's any new player that's sort of got a golden goose that no one knows about. But I do think that people are coming into the league and they are far more sort of game-minded, and they've probably got quite a lot of tabletop gaming experience, so they can translate that to SBG pretty easily.
Yeah. And just so anyone who doesn't know as well, so Will was the champion last year, which we've touched on. He also is a member of the team over at Seven City Collectibles, which is a gaming club, stroke store, stroke. What else goes on at Seven City then?
General nerd site. So we buy and sell second-hand miniatures. We're a stockist of Games Workshop stuff and lots of other sort of gaming stuff. And we run as many events as we can. And now that sort of COVID is easing up a little bit and the government guidelines are a little bit more lenient, we're already starting to run events starting next week, which we can segue on to later. But yeah, really keen to get as many events as we can and just sort of grow a really nice gaming community, which we're doing quite a good job of at the moment.
I think we're all in a good position. I mean, I just had a quick check on the GBHL Facebook group prior to coming on live. Every week I accept more and more people. There's 34 people waiting to be accepted into the group again this week.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's
Absolutely
mental.
nuts.
It's mental.
And I'm the proud owner of the Middle Earth SBG Competitive Players Forum, and I'm finding the same there as well.
Yeah.
Probably 4 or 5 people a day.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit savage, and I decline quite a lot of people because the idea of that page was for, without being cliquey, for established and knowledgeable players to have somewhere.
Why am I in there, Will? Why am I in there?
There was a couple of courtesy invites, but when we got to the point where the GBHL was having hundreds of new members, just rolling in, there was quite a lot of sort of repetitive questions and simple questions, and without wanting to detract from that and make people feel like there wasn't a place for them to ask these questions, I think we also needed a facility for established players to discuss things on a more sort of technical level. And so I think the birth of a new page was something that was needed. But with that comes quite a lot of people that just start playing SPG and they want to be part of every page, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
So the questions aren't particularly difficult, but sometimes people get them very wrong, and I have to just sort of drop them a message and encourage them, which some people might not like. I don't really care.
Yeah.
All they have to do is attend a couple of events, and they'll be more than qualified to sort of join that group as well. Yeah. But that's the point. Both pages seem to be absolutely exploding, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I suppose you'll get a lot of players like who like you say, who are new players, coming into the game, and they see that group exists, and one of their, not the sole intention, but one of the main intentions might be to compete and do well. So they probably want to hear what all the seasoned players are talking about, and the different tactics and lists and things like that. So yeah, you're probably going to get that. But then they don't know much about the game, and they're probably then asking questions that maybe don't fit in that group.
It's all about a balance, and the intention was never to stop people from joining a group, but it was to create a facility to run alongside the GBHL, so everybody has a place where they can ask appropriate questions. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think it's good to have. I think it is good to have. I think it's just that sometimes maybe people have to realise what group they are more. What's the word I'm looking for without trying to insult? Because like you say, I'm in there as a courtesy. I know that if it wasn't for the fact that we know each other and I've been around a while, and probably because of the channel, I may not be in there. But I'll happily sit in the non-competitive pretty bobbins.
I think you do yourself a disservice there, though, because you've been playing the game for a very long time, so there wouldn't be subject matter in that group that you wouldn't understand.
No. What I mean is, I think people have to work out. It probably takes them a while to work out that maybe that isn't the group for them, and they need to go to the GBHL podcast group first, and then move on to that once they've. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, they're just going to be wasting the time in a group where they maybe don't understand a lot of the conversations that are happening and why people are saying certain things, do this and that. And the
other. And for anyone that might be put out by what I've said, that wasn't my intention. Basically, if you're in a position where you can answer the entry questions, which are really, really easy, you're more than welcome into the group.
Yeah.
But I have had to decline quite a few people that haven't bothered, or sort of haven't,
I think you'll get as well, like you said, you'll get a lot of people who just want to join when they start playing the game. They want to join every single SPG group that they can find, and they probably join. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's good. It's good to have. It's good to have that. It's good to have the other groups, because there's a narrative SPG group as well now on Facebook.
Yeah,
which is quite cool. I've not been as active in there as I would like, because it's kind of more my scene. Excuse me, but life's just busy, and doing this stuff and having about 16 YouTube channels doesn't help with my.
You have to thin them down, mate. Get rid of them.
I know. I love it. I just love being on screen, though. I can't help it.
Love it. I'm surprised you're not in a low cut vest.
I know. Yeah, it's part of my hobby now. This, I enjoy it. It's probably the bit of the hobby that I enjoy the most. Being involved in the content creation and community side, and it's nice to be kind of that go between the new guys, the narrative guys, the more skilled guys. And I've said that for ages. Like I say, I'm self-confessed. I'm not great at the game. I'm not a great tactician. If I play more than 2 games in a day, it's not that I lose interest, but my brain just says, "Come on now, just have a drink. Stop playing games."
Yeah, is it beer time? Yeah.
And,
I think that's like the GBHL olden days, isn't it? Where it was more of a social than it was a tournament.
Yeah.
And I think because more players have come in and old players have gone out, it has sort of become what it was always supposed to be. I think, which is a friendly but competitive league.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I think
It's got a younger
we
vibe
strike
to it
that
now.
balance perfectly.
Yeah, it's got a younger vibe to it, I think, as well. So the younger players are quite happy to play 3 or 4 games in a day, which is great. It's great for the league. It's great for the popularity of the game.
I have to say, I think I'm getting old, because I'm a mighty 25 years old now. And if I haven't read the rules pack properly, and I get there and I realise that there's 4 games on the Saturday, I'm absolutely done by game 3. Like, what do you mean I've got to do another game? This is outrageous.
I've booked a table at the curry house. What's going on?
Yeah.
But they are fun though. They are fun. Again, I'm the kind of person who always try, whenever I speak to anyone new and talk about events and stuff, I'm a big advocate of trying to get people to go to events. I think events can be quite daunting. I remember I put off going to events for a long time, and one of the first events I went to, I think, was Throne Skulls way back. And I've not looked back since.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I had similar, and it's a little bit like video games as well. That's like an old person thing to say, isn't it? Video games. But like, I always had an Xbox, and I would play loads of games, and I never got Xbox Live or anything. I never played online, so I just assumed that that's what the really competitive people did. And then when I was like 15, I got Xbox Live, and I was like, oh my god, it's just a load of idiots in their pants like playing the same game that I am. And it's kind of the same for the tournaments, isn't it? You think that everyone's there to absolutely crush face and bring horrible lists, and then you realise that a couple of people are there, but generally speaking, it's just a load of lads that want to just play a few games, have a laugh with a common interest, and then go for a few beers. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And I think to everyone who goes, that they'll find that to them it's something different. It is 100% a social thing for me. The games are just
me too.
A bonus, like just hanging out with people. And I mean, you've played me. I just talk crap all game. I just talk nonsense.
So do I. I just roll better than you.
That's very true. I notoriously roll bad, but I was talking to Jay just prior to the stream, and we were talking about when me and Jay played you and Ed in doubles. That was one of the games that I remember the most, like playing at an event, because we knew we weren't going to win. We knew we were playing against 2 of the best players in the league with a good list, and we had Goblin Town. I don't know if you remember, and we just set all the goblins up on the edge of the table. And then everywhere you were going to put your hands, we were bringing them on just so you couldn't put your hands there, just to wind
you. I do remember you kept bringing the goblins on in front of Ed so he couldn't lean on the table, which is absolutely phenomenal psychological play. Absolutely love it.
Well, that's kind of that's for us. That's what we go to events for, just to have a bit of banter, because we were pals before that anyway, so we knew each other. So it was just a bit of fun, really. But that's. Anyone who's in the chat, I think most of the people who are talking in the chat anyway have been to events. So hello anyone who's in the chat.
Hello there.
We will get to the chat at some point. So you've got an event coming up pretty soon?
Next weekend.
Still tickets available?
No, unfortunately not.
All sold out?
All sold out.
It's a great sign.
It turns out people being locked up for 6 months who would normally go to an event every fortnight really want to go and play toys, which is fantastic.
How many attendees is it?
So it was supposed to be 32 because that's our event capacity. That got brought down to 16, and we've increased it to 24. We did a bit of sort of table Tetris at the store and made sure that we, how many tables can we fit in while, maintaining all the rules that we have to follow, but also without people, just putting people's mind at ease and not feeling like we're cramming in as many as we can, because it's not what it's about.
No. And I'm yet to visit. I'm yet to visit Seventh City. But
it's completely outrageous. I must send you the address weekly. You just never show up.
Well, we were, because we were. I think we mentioned. I mentioned it to Barney actually. I think it was at Scouring that I wanted to come up, and I wanted to do. I've said it on the streams before. We want to do
like a top table takeover.
Like a takeover, where we come down, we spend the day there. We'll film. We'll stream a game in the morning. Then we might do like one of these speak friend type things, sort of early afternoon, do a live stream from there, just chatting to everyone, letting people see the store in the background, things like that, and then stream another game later in the afternoon, and then just go out and get sloshed and eat curry. And
absolutely swashbuckled.
But we've got the gear to do it. It's just that COVID hit and everything come to a halt, and it was a bit of a nightmare really. So Seven Cities back on track now after COVID, kind of everything's trying to get back as normal as possible.
As normal as we can do, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've set some targets in relation to events, and we're from next week being the first one. We're pretty much running an event every weekend until Christmas,
Yeah.
and we don't plan on slowing down either. It's really really exciting.
So this weekend you sold out,
Yes.
and you did mention you've got an event close to Christmas.
So we've actually got 3 events before Christmas.
Okay.
So we've got the Rings of Men, which is next week.
Yeah.
And so that is, we can do a bit of a breakdown, but in summary, that's just like an 80 point, a fun one. The event I could liken it to the most would be sort of 7 Stones. It's all about converting your armies and having like really cool objective markers and some fun scenarios. And then we've got the King's Call to Arms, which is my baby, 17th and 18th of October. And so that is a Battle Companies and SBG hybrid event.
Okay.
And then the first week of December, we've got the Gates of Gondolin, which is our delayed event from April, which was a 100-pointer.
Yeah. And what you got? There's a couple more, isn't there?
So that's all the SBG ones. I mean, events-wise, we've got.
What else have you got? Because I know in our community anyway, we've got players who play everything. So we've got 40k players, we've got Marvel Crisis Protocol players.
Outstanding.
What other games you got? Because I know people will be interested, and you're semi-local. You're not too far away. You're up the road.
We're the localist friendly local gaming store. Let me pull the list up. We've got tons. So ones that we currently have tickets available for, we've got a 40k event on the 27th of September.
Nice.
We've got a Magic event on the 4th of October. We've got an Age of Sigmar event on the 11th of October. We've got a Marvel Crisis Protocol event in 2 weeks, but that's sold out. We've got one with a few tickets left on the 24th of October.
Yeah. And
we've got a 2-day Marvel event on the 28th and 29th of November. And there's a few more sort of mixed in between there, which we haven't published yet, but we'll do soon. And they're all available on the 7th City Collectibles page.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's essentially going to be every weekend and as many games as we can.
Yeah.
We're looking to get an X-Wing one sorted out and a Bolt Action one sorted out as well.
Well, Josh T432 has literally just asked any X-Wing events, Will.
Josh, my boy. Hopefully very soon. It may be after Christmas, but it is 100% on the cards.
Have you got many X-Wing players locally that play in store, or?
That is a bit of R&D that I need to work on over the next couple of weeks. I know there are people that play in Nottingham, not currently at the store, but it's hard to gauge with the store having been closed for 6 months or so.
Yeah, because Legion's took off massively as well, hasn't it? Like over the period of everyone being off, Legion.
Yeah, so Legion's another. Legion is another game that we're looking at running events for as well. And we kind of need to do a little bit of fishing to see what our community is and who's local and sort of trying to bring them in. Because one thing that's important for events is making sure that they're actually good for the people that want to go to them.
Yeah.
So I have played X-Wing in the past. I haven't touched Legion yet because I've just not been able to afford it. But if I'm going to run an event for something, I want to know that the people who play that game are going to enjoy that event.
Yeah.
So it's really important to be able to speak to the people that are going to attend and make sure it's, we don't just pick all the worst scenarios or we, any special rules or list building things that would just cripple some people and give them a negative experience. Yeah. So there's a lot of sort of research to go into it. I could do an SBG event with my eyes closed because I've been to so many, I've hosted so many, but to do a game that I know little to nothing about
I still wing it with SBG, I'm not going to lie.
Do you know what? I've had to sort of brush up and read the rule books and stuff again. I know that sounds utterly ridiculous, but I've played one game since March, and it's amazing how much you forget.
Tell me about it. We filmed on, I think it was Friday, me and Jay filmed, because we've just finished the studio. So we knew that the first battle report we wanted, because we want to play 40k on the channel, but we knew the first one back to christen the new studio was always going to be SPG. I had a table there that I'd built specifically to film battle reports on that we never got a chance to use. It's been sat there for 4 months. We came in on Friday and we filmed, and we both played armies that we've never played before. And even though we were only 400 points, one was ruffians and one was hobbits, so there was still a ton of models.
Several hundred
we
models.
set up and we were like, literally, right, how do we play this game? Like, I forgot how to play this game. And this was a battle report we were trying to film, so we had to give a disclaimer at the start saying, look, if there's any mistakes, we apologise, we're rusty, bear with us. But yeah,
sorry,
I know exactly
not
what
sorry.
you mean. I know exactly what you mean. So,
and another interesting thing about working in a gaming store now is you actually get to play far less than you normally would.
Jay says the same.
Yeah, you spend an awful lot of time watching other people play games, which is fine for sort of absorbing sort of transient information, but sort of sharpening your own skills will do you no good whatsoever. And it's similar for Marvel Crisis Protocol. We've been playing a lot of that, and I absolutely love that game. So we're keen to run a lot of events for that, and it's been really popular in store. Almost all of the NOTS based GBHLers are all head over heels with it as well. But again, I've played probably half the games that everybody else has because they come to the store to play. So I kind of get to watch them throw buildings at each other and stuff, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it has kicked off. I've not played it, but Jay plays it. He's not steep and he's bought everything. And
Jay's coming to our event. He's coming to the first one in a couple of weeks.
But he's drummed up. My eye on him. Well, have a chat with him because I know he was pretty good at drumming up interest in and around Manchester and Stockport. He done well, so I'm sure he'll know a few guys locally to use.
We've been chatting, and I'm going to sort of chew his ear off when he comes down for the event.
Yeah, it's good. I might tag along. When is it?
Not this week, next week. I think it's the 13th of September.
Yeah, if I come, is it one day?
Yeah, it's on the Sunday. You're gonna have to come down, mate. You've said it now.
I know. I might try and just tag along and just to hang out and drink and just annoy him.
Absolutely. I'll give you a practice game. Mate.
It's one of my hobbies, just annoying him. So I'll just sit
beside him.
I'll just sit beside him calling names. Yeah. But no, that's good. It's good that you get back on track. I know Element Games was in a similar position. I think they open up properly back on this Friday because here in Manchester and Stockport, we were...
You're on mega lockdown again.
Yeah, we were high end. It only got announced that we were easing out of it yesterday, I think it was. So that's good news. It's good news for me because I've been keeping an eye on everything because we've got Scouring coming up in October and I was really worried about that. I'm still not in a great position with it because we might have to cut the attendees, but I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm going to play it by ear, I think, and give it another couple of weeks and then make a decision. But the decisions are, I don't want to postpone it altogether. So, but I mean, that's one option. The other option is to split it into two because there's 90 odd players. So split it into two over 2 weeks, and then give people the option of the top 10 from each day if they wanted to duke it out. Just sort of do it kind of.
Yeah, you could do heats and then a final.
But no extra cost, obviously, just if they wanted to do it. But I
know one of the issues that TOs are facing at the moment is obviously as a committee we made all events 80 pointers. And just to sort of shed a little bit of light on that, and I know that it seems odd to some people, but what we're essentially saying is it's fine for you to host and run events, but we don't want to, despite the fact that some people may be completely unaffected by it, there is a global pandemic on, unfortunately, dying. And what we don't want to do is encourage people to be travelling the length and breadth of the country. So, the thing with the GBHL is you will get people that will drive from Cardiff to Stirling to attend a competitive event. And so the 80s mean that people can still get their hobby fix and have some good games. But we're not sort of, planes, trains and automobiles all over the place. But that, it's constantly being assessed as well. The committee are talking about it quite regularly and at a point where we think that the government would, the guidance is there that, the government is not going to release an article that says, Great British Hobbit League, you're clear to go. But when we think the time is right and it's appropriate to do so, we can kind of try and return to normal a little bit.
Yeah. I think looking at it, it'll probably be well after Christmas that if then. But I'm just, me personally as a TO, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. I'm probably going to give it another couple of weeks and then make a call whether there's been more news or not. Because obviously I don't want to leave it to the last minute. It's not fair. But at the same time, I'm trying to hold out as long as I can so that I can appease everyone and give everyone what they want. So it's tough. It's tough. But the 80-point thing makes complete sense. I think it was a blanket thing across the whole league, so it's not like anyone was losing out. It is what it is,
No, It is a shame because I know that 100-pointers have a little bit more of a draw than 80-pointers do. If nothing else, I think some things that people haven't accounted for in the past is that if it's a 100-point event, the competitive players will go and they'll normally bring a friend or two with them, and that's why the 100-pointers get so many numbers.
Yeah.
You don't have every single person at 100-pointer that's there to compete to try and win it.
No.
It's the traffic that they take with them. Like if I was to go to before I moved down to Nottingham, if I was going to an event from Richmond, it's almost always a full car of people.
Yeah.
And you know they're not all there to win it, bless them.
Yeah.
And that's what stocks the numbers up, and I think that's why some people are concerned with 80s, that it might sort of affect their numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to do all of this.
I think with the pandemic and people worried about health, then that would affect numbers rather than it being an 80-point.
Well, yeah, you'd think so, but it's been going on for so long. You know, inversely, it's been going on for so long that a lot of people are sort of over it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not that I should advise that attitude. My attitude I will keep to myself. But
yeah, I mean,
you know,
it is what it is. At the end of the day, safety's got to come first. People's health's got to come first.
Absolutely.
Regardless of personal opinion on it, we have to stick to guidelines that have been set. And
yeah, and you know, I went to I was actually at a Marvel event today, and it worked absolutely fine. The tables were nicely spread out, and everyone sort of wore masks until they were at their table and away from everybody else. And you know, as long as everybody's sensible, it should be manageable.
Yeah.
It's certainly not easy, and it's going to have its cutbacks, but it's doable as long as everybody plays ball.
I think it's like you said. These rules aren't aimed at gamers and gamers going in the hole. These rules are aimed at to try and get the message across to everybody in every walk of life. And unfortunately, as soon as there's an easing of any of the lockdown rules, people see that as a green light to have 200 people in a house party and
just go wild.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, because they weren't doing that pre-lockdown. Why are they doing it? Do you know what I mean? It's mental.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's politics, isn't it, as well?
It's all catharsis, though, isn't it? There's a lot of people that are really pent up, and when they see the opportunity to let off a bit of steam, they let it all off.
Yeah.
And you know, people will always be stupid. Bless them.
Yeah, it is what it is. Right. Well, we've covered events at Seven City. We've covered a little bit of the GBHL League, the way it's run, but we'll come back to that later on. We've had a very quiet period, like 3 or 4 months of no releases, no events, no nothing, and then all of a sudden now events are popping back up. People are talking about their events again, and we've also had some new releases from Games Workshop. What's your thoughts on the new AMA, the new books?
So the new AMA looks really, really cool.
Yeah, because you used to have have you still got your Rohan army, or did you get rid, or you renowned for getting armies, painting them and getting rid of them?
You know how sharks have got infinitely like regenerating teeth, like on a conveyor belt?
Yeah.
That's like me with armies.
Oh, yeah.
So the only army that I currently own is my Hunter Orcs, and it kind of spans the 3 evil Hobbit factions, but it's essentially that army. But I have had Rohan 2 or 3 times, and absolutely love them. Yeah, I think AMA is a beautiful model. I love all the memes that are going around. I love me a good meme. The empty scabbard thing is hilarious. But the whole AMA is really, really short and fat. Like, what are people talking about?
Thick boy.
Yeah, he's a thick boy. I think people have lost their bloody minds, Steve.
It's just it cracks me up.
It's a cool model. Move on.
Yeah.
Right, if you don't like it, cool.
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah. And then some poor dude who admittedly had clearly never heard of magnets bought like 3 different AMAs to do all the different poses, and people were trying to murder him. I'm like, what is going on here? Why don't you leave him alone? He just wants 3 AMAs. Like, it's none of your business, you psychos.
I did think myself, he's not thought this through, because that means he's got to paint them all as well, you know.
Yeah, like, was it the brightest idea? Absolutely not. But is he entitled to buy 3? Of course he is.
Yeah, he could do it.
If he'd have bought 3 and said, "Oh, look at these 2 converted captains that I'm going to do," people would be like, "Yeah, I love it."
Yeah,
so what? You know, what's the difference?
Yeah, people are mean. It's the internet, mate. It's the internet.
I love it. I have to be careful because obviously things get misconstrued on the internet. But yeah, when some people say some stupid stuff, I really have to I'll type something and then I'll read it And I'd be like, yeah, and that's why I'm not sending this. Just remove
it's
it.
like them videos. I've got a mate who sends me them videos now where it's like husband and wife having a text conversation, and you see what they're gonna say, then they delete it and type something else. You never send what they were really gonna say. That always cracks me. I have them conversations with my missus all the time. No, I like it. I think it's a great miniature. I think it's one of the best that I've seen. I liked it when I seen the imagery, but then when I seen it in hand, it's 10 times better. I think it looks great. Again, I think
Yeah,
even though sorry, go on.
I'm a big fan of the multi-part plastic kits now that give you the options.
Yeah, 100%.
I personally am a helmet boy, all puns intended. It was the same with the Theoden, and I love all of the sort of ornate helmets that they have on a lot of the models. So for me, it'd be helmet on both poses.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a little bit in the thick gait. I think he looks a little bit more proportioned with his helmet. But I think he looks great either way. I'm also terrible at painting faces, so maybe that's why I like helmets as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a great model. I think the plastic Theoden was always my favourite when it came out, and up until Aomer was my favourite Rohan model by far.
Yeah, agreed.
Even the Forge
a lot of the Rohan models haven't aged particularly well either.
No.
All the new ones are all fantastic. Like Elfhelm, absolutely beautiful model.
Yeah.
But
Aomer's top of the list now for me. I think it's belting.
Yeah, possibly. The Theoden that I had, I reposed him ever so slightly to have his head sort of turned sideways, so like he was doing his speech.
Yeah.
And that just gave it like just a little je ne sais quoi, which put it at the top of my list. But straight out of the box, yeah, the Aomer is top notch.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Keeper of the Dungeons as well. I know you and Damien have had your gold discussion.
Yeah.
But got to do a shout out for that model. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's belting. I've just finished. He's over there actually. I'm not going to go and get him, but I just finished painting him today.
The thing is, he's actually not a bad little profile either. He's pretty tasty for what he does. He's been in some of my competitive lists, and I was going to take him to the ETC.
Yeah.
So he's clearly not terrible.
No, we spoke about it on we done the stream with Damien on Friday, and we spoke about his profile and that it is a good profile, and his only problem is that if you were building a competitive list, there's better options, which just tells you how strong that faction is.
Oh, is there though, Steve? Is there?
Well, there's 9. There's 9 definites.
Tell me, what are these better options?
There's 9 definites, isn't there? The Wraiths just don't die, do they? They just don't die, so
you don't take him in the Wraith list, but you do take him in the triple Hobbit Alliance list. So the bulk of that is the 3 hunters, Fimbul, Yasneg, and Nazuk with a load of hunter boys.
Yeah.
And then you take a Goblin mercenary captain with like 3 Goblin mercenaries just for objective shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then you take the Keeper of the Dungeon with some Mirkwood spiders. And then what you've got there is some primo
dirt. It's called filth. Back in the day, we'd call that filth, mate.
Well, it's Green Alliance, mate, so you can shove that. The thing is, he's solid. Like you don't make him the general because he'll just die. But like that list there, you've got your you've got all the stuff that you need. You've got all your tools. You've got your transfixes. You've got 3 strikes as well. But what that also does is it lets you play a little bit old school. You know, when you could have anybody you wanted be your general, so you could just ride him at the back.
I've not got the book in front of me. Is he Burley?
Oh yeah, he's sick. So he's burly, and he's strength 5, and he's got a pick as well, so he can piercing strike.
Yeah, that's grim. That.
And then he can reroll 1s, cause terror, reroll or fail to wound. I think in that order, the amount of kills he gets.
Yeah, he's got to do a bit of work to get that.
You just throw him into a few boys. Like you throw him in with one of the other heroes in heroic combat, he can kill 4 troops, like no problem whatsoever. Yeah. Strength 6 with +1. And then suddenly he's re-rolling all fail to wound against anything you want. Yeah. Like he's as hell.
That's mental, isn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, you don't see many with that. You don't see many with that list though. That's the thing. Like you've brought it because you know what you're doing, but generally people will go Dogaldor, Wraiths, like that. That's it. That's it.
I'm not saying that people wouldn't be able to use that list to really good effect, but I haven't seen many people use it yet.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know,
visionary Steve.
For anyone who doesn't know, we'll ask because you were one of the first people. I know lots of people used it. I know Thomas Harrison used it, but you were one of the first people who have seen do well with Hunter Hawks. Hunter Hawks kind of were beneath the radar for a while, and then all of a sudden, people at the top end of events started to use them, and then they blew up, and everyone was getting them. But they're a strong profile.
How they're not one of the most commonly used models in the game, I do not know.
Yeah.
I have to so it was Sam Page and Tom Harrison that had used them before me, but I can attribute to that they were playing for 2 years before I was. But I sort of picked them up and went, oh, okay, no, these are really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I used them in last edition allied with Mordor when sort of alliances wasn't a thing and you could really go horrible.
Yeah.
And now you want to keep the army bonus because they're the 50% bow limit and the +1 shoot value is just really, really good. So then you find ways to make them work within the options you've got. Yeah, they're just absolutely phenomenal. Why people aren't using more of them, I don't know. I think people are crazy.
I think anything that can get 2 attacks on a normal infantry model is cool anyway, isn't it? It's going to be.
Yeah,
it's a dice game at the end of the day. If you're rolling more dice, then you've got. It's not guaranteed, but you've got an advantage.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Defense 4 is nothing to write home about. But if you get a model that is trapped, so your one troop that costs you 8 points is rolling 4 dice at strength 4 to wound it, most things are going down. Like I've absolutely torn apart Iron Hills lists, and you're still wounding them on 6s, and people think that's where the stopping point is. But if you're rolling 4 dice for trapping them, and you're getting a buttload more models than the Iron Hills are, like, you're gonna rip them apart.
Yeah.
And back in the olden days, when you could put a 2-handed pick on them and they could piercing strike up to strength 7, forget about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. We've got. I'm going to quickly jump in the chat before we go on to some of the other topics. I know we were talking about new releases. We'll come back to them soon, but it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about. Nolsey Cody says, evening all, great to see events back on and selling out. Any advice on dealing with horde armies, hero heavy, magic or horde? I think there's no better man to ask, Will, than your good self.
No better man. That's flattery. Let me find that comment.
It's quite up near it.
Horde armies, hero heavy, magic or horde. So what you're asking is any advice on dealing with all of the different types of armies there are. I don't know how long we've got on the stream, but to put it finally, dealing with horde armies, you want something that they're not going to be able to wound very well, or you want something that can go toe-to-toe with them. You want to make sure that you are anchored against something that they can't flank you on, so you want to find a nice scenery piece to make sure they can't get around and trap you. Sometimes there isn't a lot you can do. I think the current meta and the scenarios for this edition of the game favour horde armies more so than like a dense or all-hero army. Just because there's lots of board coverage needed. But just take sort of slightly better troops. Again, this is a really good advert for Hunter Orcs because anything that's slightly better than them that you're hoarding out, you're going to be in relatively even numbers or you're going to outnumber them. And anything worse, like for Hunter Orcs to come up against Goblin Town is comical because for once you've also got the higher fight value. So you're literally just walking through them like they're not there. Hero heavy. This is like an advert for Hunter Orcs, really. Hero heavy, so you want sort of counterplay. So you want other heroes that you've got. Siege weapons are a real nuisance for heroes. Good shooting, just get them off their mounts. That's got to be priority 1 because you reduce their killing capacity so heavily. So get them off the horses or boars or wargs or whatever they're riding nowadays. But also hero heavy is not particularly good anymore, as I said before.
It's not as good as it was, is it?
No, so if someone's rocking like 4 heroes, you just laugh at them and go stand on all the objectives. I think a common thing for new players that they don't realise is that sometimes dying is fine. I think people have got a natural desire to want to keep as many of their troops alive as they can. But if you can win the game by sending, all of your pretty soldiers off to die while leaving 4-on-4 objectives and win the game, then that's what you've come out for. So do that. Play the scenario, not the army. And against Magic, I mean, Magic's not nowhere near as good as it used to be.
No. I kind of ignore magic. I kind of because
yeah.
a lot of my armies. I very rarely play with magic in my armies. Very rare. So I kind of just sort of I conceded a long time ago that if someone's got magic that I'm playing against, there's not much I can do about it. So I just like yeah, all right, just do what you're doing. I'll just play around it.
So heroes have got a little bit more resilient to magic, with resistance to magic actually being a worthwhile benefit. And also, if you resist on that natural 6, you get your will back. So, like, magic ability is nowhere near what it used to be. But, I mean, the way I play and the way I've always played is sort of target denial. If the 4 heroes in my army are the Keeper of the Dungeons, Fimbul, Yasmeg, and Narzug, if you want Gandalf the White to try and immobilize one of them, like, crack on, mate. That's the point trade off there is laughable. So go nuts, give it your best shot. The main thing I can say for all of those is, where possible, play the scenario, not the army, and just use the table to your advantage. Like, the amount of times you just see a shield wall walk up to a shield wall and they just sort of slap each other until one of the shield walls is gone.
Yeah.
Like, use the terrain you've got, break stuff up.
You know I'm a big fan of terrain, mate, and fancy boards.
Absolutely, it's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, just use the board.
I think people who play like that who don't use it, I think they're missing out on a massive part of the game. I've said it all along. There's rules in the rule book that for years never got used, and people were like, what's the swim chart again? What do you have to do?
It's bananas.
What's the ball chart? It's like, oh,
it's where the fun's at, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, I'm pretty old school in that I really like the board to look cool, despite the fact that I'll play on top tables and play against some of the best players in the world. I still want the table to look cool as hell.
Yeah.
So you'll never catch me playing with an unpainted model ever. I really like it if my opponent does the same, and like, you won't see me with dice and books and paper all over the board. Never in a million years, because I it still has to be cool and cinematic for me, no matter what the playing at. So, like, a casual plug for Scouring is, like, the boards there are probably the best I've ever been to, and like, it feels like
some cool ones, new ones this year as well. Some cool ones.
I can't wait, and you basically just get lots of cool opportunities, don't you, to go and see what's
things happen in games that wouldn't normally happen, which is what I like. There's always been that argument, and I kind of bowed down to it about, oh well, depending on what board you get, it might benefit one army over the other. And my argument for years was always, well, when you're at war, you don't pick your battlefield. You have to fight wherever the fight happens. But then I could sort of see the point of, if someone's tried really hard and trained with an army, and I kind of gave in, and none of the top tables are the fancy.
No, that's nonsense, mate. Don't bow to the super nerds. There's an excellent phrase in a favourite film of mine called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And Spider-Man Noir says, "We don't pick the ballroom, we just dance." And that's exactly how it should be.
I'm going to write that one down. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put it in the rules pack.
We don't pick the ballroom, we just dance. Get on with it. I can understand if the top table was entirely woodland terrain, that would be pretty grim.
Or Lake Town.
Yeah, or yeah. That might be the one board where I'm like, whoa, Steve, you've gone too far. You've lost the plot. But generally speaking, like, just get on with it. Use it to your advantage, or find a way to work around it. What can you do?
Yeah.
I lost my last game at Ardacon last year to Jakub Krokmal, who is one of the best players in the world, I should say, before being salty about the fact he beat me. But I had an all-mounted Rohan army, and he had a really grim alliance of, like, Aragorn with some Gondorians, Arwen with some elves, and then Galadriel. And he just plonked the whole army in some woods and went, cool.
Is it the same list that he brought to the Scouring?
Quite possibly, yeah. It's an absolutely awful list to play against. It's a really well-built list. But I had to play for the win for a multitude of reasons. So he just sat in the woods and went, okay, well, let's go.
Yeah.
And, it's really annoying, and it feels like a negative play experience on my end. But at the same time, if a win was on the line and there was some scenery I could use to the advantage, I would do it, and I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
Yeah.
It's all part of the game, isn't it? And if you build a list that just can't deal with terrain, then on your head be it.
Yeah, that's true. Totally agree.
It'd be like taking a Mummock and then being sad that you can never, like, get around a corner to get people. It's like, it's a mechanic of the game. You knew this when you read the rule book.
There was a lad, I can't remember who it was now. You probably remember his army from the final when you won. And he had Candace Chariot Army.
Oh dear.
And he played on the Lake
Rest
Town
in
board
peace.
twice. Twice. And I said, if you want me to swap? He's like, no, he was dead nice. He's like, no, I've drawn it, I'll play it. He played on it twice. I felt sorry for him.
Well, I'd imagine that anyone that's taking an All Candice Chariot Army is a cool guy, and therefore would be okay with it.
Beautiful army as well. Really nice. Really nice. Okay, so we'll drop back into the new releases. So we spoke about Aimer. We've got the Best of the White Dwarf book, which is a great book. It's got all the old bits and bobs from way back in it. It's got some new scenarios in it. It's got old scenarios in it. It's got loads of stuff in it. The thing that I've seen people talking about the most, or what the most anticipation is for obviously the new supplement, which is Quest of the Ringbearer.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to it? I know you weren't overly keen on the Scouring supplement.
That was not my favourite. But I'm never going to play Hobbits or Ruffians, so I shouldn't be surprised. The Quest of the Ringbearer should be like a mandatory thing that you should buy as an SPGer. It's just the coolest thing ever, and you definitely want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
The Best of White Dwarf thing, I must confess, I've never really been a White Dwarfer, so
I don't collect White Dwarf. I don't collect it.
No.
So these books because I don't collect it because 80% of it isn't SPG, and then that's why when they release the Best of, that's right on my street then, because it's got all that bit in it that I would have just spent fortunes on just to get them bits.
I used to collect it in the olden days when like the Lord of the Rings cover was on the back and stuff like that, and you knew that you were going to get a lot of content. But obviously times change, and the priorities from Games Workshop change. They've obviously got lots of content they need to cram into a very small magazine. But I mean, I stopped buying White Dwarf a very long time ago. It's something that I'd probably pick up though, because it'd be nice to get to a point. I mean, I only own Hunterhawks, as I said earlier, but if I can come across someone who's got all the stuff and they're like, hey, do you want to just pick a random scenario from Quest of the Ringbearer? I'm like, hell yes, I do. That sounds like a great way to spend an evening.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like, I really like the Scouring book, because I have become more of a narrative scenario kind of fan rather than. I mean, I love events, and I love the competitive play scenarios. I just love to play games, but the narrative stuff for me is where I get a lot of my inspiration for the next board I'm going to build, or the next army I'm going to paint, and for the channel as well. I think it's entertaining to have that kind of stuff on the channel, not just have competitive all the time, because not everyone is competitive.
No, absolutely not.
And it's a lot of people are just fans of Middle Earth and the world.
And also, sort of, as you said earlier, if you're a little bit rusty around the edges on the excuse me, a bit rusty on the rules and things, getting back into it, if you then try and record what you're thinking is a competitive back rep and you're a little bit wide of the mark, you're then going to leave quite a lot of people disappointed.
Exactly.
Whereas a narrative scenario straight down the middle is something that you need.
Yeah.
I just want to hop back to the comments.
Yeah.
Nosy Cody said, sorry, I meant to deal with hordes. Should you use one of the others? So we were completely wrong there. So what I would recommend is anything that gives you lots of damage from one model. So monsters with Hurl are really good for dealing with hordes, because eventually they have to bunch up. Mm-hmm. Anything that can sort of get free heroic combats or has good sort of might resources, so things like Daewine and Thorin can absolutely massacre quite a lot for a little sort of energy output. Siege weapons are great because they can blow up big blobs, and if they've got a really big horde, then you're bound to hit something. There's plenty of options, and if nothing else, if none of that sort of stuff takes your fancy, then just take slightly better models, as many as you can, and that you'll be winning your lion's share of the fights. So that's how I deal with hordes in a very broad sense.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, it's not a question that you can answer just by going, oh yeah, hordes, here's the answer to that.
Yeah, there's no pie chart, unfortunately.
No, yeah, it's which is a good thing. It's a good thing that, because there used to be in this game, there used to be certain ways to beat certain lists,
SBG is the perfect like rock paper scissors.
Yes.
Because there's always something that you have to beat them, but there's always something that someone else has to beat you.
Yeah.
And that's why like it used to be the old Ed Ball conundrum in the olden days when he was like on top of the world with Fell Beasts. You had to build a list that could beat Ed's Fell Beasts because you knew you would have to come across him at some point if you're going to win the event.
Yeah.
But the problem was if you built a list that was designed to beat the Fell Beasts, you wouldn't beat the people to get to the place where you could play him.
Yeah.
And that was like,
and Ed had been playing it for years and could do that. He could beat.
Master of his trade.
Yeah, it was like he was just going through the motions, but a lot of the time playing Ed with that list was an experience because you just look at him, you can just see him in his like he'll be mumbling maths in his head, and you just think,
he loves it.
What the hell? What can I do against this? I tried playing Ed's list a few times and was shocking with it. Terrible.
Yeah, his sort of foresight and placement for that army is unbeatable. He's had less success with other armies and with that army in this edition, but he's still an absolute force to be reckoned with.
He's a great player, very knowledgeable. He's a great player. He's.
So,
do you think?
Unfortunately, I've got low battery on my phone because how would this go if we didn't have tons of technical issues? So let me just go and grab my charger.
Yeah, no problem. I'll run through. I'll run through the chat. You go and grab it.
Awesome.
While Will's running off, I'll just say hello to everyone who's in the chat again. So welcome everyone, and I'll run through the people that are in. Green Tree's in. How you doing, brother? James is in. I'm sorry about the technical issues at the start. I do apologise. I thought we'd got rid of those, but obviously not. NPM Photos, hi. How you doing, pal? Brushballer's in. How's it going, Gaz? Tanya's in. Hi for the third time. Frederick's in. Rusty Russ. Glenn. Josh. Joe Holzman's in. Third time. Look, was it a third time? Neck. My partner in crime's in. Where are we? Hajinder's in. Hajinder, I got your PMs, my friend. Thank you for sending me that link. Eric Schultz is in. I think he was Eric. I think it might have been Jay sabotaging because I did everything that I normally do and it just didn't work for some reason. And then my screen froze, so I don't know what was going on. Michael Haskell's in. Reese is in. How's it going, Reese? Let's have a look. What else? Mike Myers is in. How you doing, Mike? It was good to see your pictures today in the Patreon chat about the event that Mr. World Champion was in and won, apparently. Ruth's in. How's it going, Ruth? Harry's in. Knowles is in. Obviously, we know that. Big Chap's in. How you doing, mate? Alistair, how's it going, Alistair? James Holding's in. And that's it. I think that's everyone who's in. If you are in the chat, just say hi in the chat so we know that you're watching. That'd be great. And don't forget, if you've got any questions for Will or myself, just pop them in. Anything you just want to talk about. If you want to talk about new releases, if you want to talk about any events coming up, if you want to talk about any tactics, anything you want, just do ask, and we'll deal with it. Not a problem. As you can see, Will has a lovely light pendant there. It's fantastic. I love it. Are we all sorted?
It doesn't say it's charging, which is terrifying.
What phone have you got, by the way?
A Google Pixel 4.
Oh, it's fancy.
Hey, we're charging. We're all
good stuff. Well, what were we saying before you ran off? Can't remember.
I don't know. You were on about heckling people in the comments.
Yeah, I just went through and said hello. Just a few names that we know. Alistair was just saying when we were talking about tables, he was saying top tables should be just as random as the bottom tables. If you're a good player, you should be able to adapt, which is correct. It's pretty much what Will said. I think it's a hard one to as a TO. Sometimes you just want your event to run smooth, and you don't want, you know what I mean. You don't want the aggro of, so you just think, oh, I'll just put it on mats up there, be alright. But then it was, so you've mentioned it, and Jay Clare mentioned it in December. He also said he comes to Skyrim because of the boards, and he never gets a chance to play on them. And he's like, just put them up there, just put them, even if it's one or two, put one or two in the top 5 tables, and at least we'll get a chance to play on, which I might do. I think I might do. I've got some nice tables that aren't too bad.
Yeah, there's always a balance you can make by having a really cool table that isn't super obstructive.
Yeah.
If anyone can do it, you can, Steve.
I'll have a go. You know me, I'm a trier, mate. I'm a trier.
You are a trier.
Let's have a look who else is in. I think someone else fired a question at you, Will, that I did see before. Oh, it was Glyn, Mr. Glyn Seymour. He says, question for Will. You're well known as the GBHL reigning champ, but you mentioned you're a big fan of narrative play. His questions are, what's your favourite theatre of war in SBG and scenario?
Oh, lordy. My favourite theatre? That's a really good question. I think my favourite theatre is one that doesn't actually exist yet. And that would likely be like the War in the North, Easterlings at Erebor and that sort of stuff. That kind of comes from my video gaming background, where battle games, what was it? The Battle for Middle-earth 2 or whatever it was called. And basically there was a campaign, you sort of built big armies and fought each other on the ground, similar to like Rome Total War type stuff.
Yeah.
But they did like the Siege of Erebor with the Easterlings and the Hadrim, and that was absolutely awesome. So I'd love to see at some point a source book or an expansion based on that. My favourite scenario, I don't really have one, because if I had all the models, I'd have played every one of them, and I've probably played a lot of them up to this point. But like if you were to just text me and be like, "Well, are you free this evening? I've got these armies and I want to do this scenario." It doesn't matter what scenario it is. I'd absolutely be up for coming to play.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the thing is because I play so many competitive games, to have something preset. It's like you've got this and they've got that, and this is what you need to do. It's actually really refreshing for me.
Yeah.
And it's about sort of taking the challenge, because a lot of the scenarios aren't balanced, are they? Because they're supposed to go the way that the story goes, and so at that point, it's trying to sort of change the narrative history and see if you can succeed where the heroes failed and vice versa.
Yeah. I love the narrative stuff, because it's a case of getting either a couple of beers or some soft drinks and some snacks for your pal, and just playing and just dragging it out and just having a laugh whilst you're doing it, and
for sure,
making cool stuff happen rather than wondering if cool stuff would happen, like making it happen, doing things that Sam would do, or doing things, charging in where Aragon would charge in, whereas maybe if you were playing competitive, you wouldn't charge him into certain situations. That kind of stuff is what makes the narrative stuff a lot more interesting for me.
Absolutely. I had something to say and I've completely forgotten.
Sorry, mate. I threw you off. It'll come back to you, and we can come back to it.
I don't know. I'm sure it was something very profound.
Let's have a look. What else we got in the chat before we carry on? John Marshall says, "Is there any news on Legendary Legions for Khazad-dûm? Does anyone know?" I think that's probably going to be something we see maybe in a Moria book, Khazad-dûm kind of thing in the future. Which, if I'm honest, I think my money's on Moria being the next big one.
Do you reckon that'd be interesting?
I think so. It makes more sense.
Yeah, maybe. It's tough because I wouldn't want to see anybody's armies get left behind. But at the same time, I like to see the new stuff. So I've found it relatively refreshing that, I know they have retrod some old steps, but I like that they've done some pretty unique stuff, and I'd love to see more new stuff come to the game before refreshing old stuff myself. So
I honestly think if they brought it out, I don't think we're going to see new Moria Goblin troops. I don't think we're there yet.
Probably not.
I don't think.
I don't think there's a requirement for it.
Because the Moria Goblin troops, even though some of the first ones out, they're good. I've got some here that I spent a lot of time painting, and they look well. And the metal Moria Goblins are great, fantastic.
There's very few models in the range that just don't hold up. But I'd much rather see I'm biased, aren't I? But I'd love to see like a War in the North expansion, or just somewhere that they haven't been yet before doing the same again. And if they were going to go back old school, I'd much rather see like a Last Alliance one and give some of the really narrow factions some love.
Yeah,
Khazad-dûm is quite a big faction. It's a pretty good faction.
Yeah,
it's probably got one of the best army bonuses within itself out there.
Yeah.
Also, we know what happened in Moria. We've seen the source book before, so it would only be like a reskin and a few new scenarios, I think. So I'd much rather see something new.
Yeah,
myself.
I mean, I'm all. People ask, "Oh, what do you want? What do you want?" I'm in that situation. I look forward to everything that's coming, but I don't get upset when the thing that I want doesn't come out. I'm just happy that stuff's coming out. I'm kind of in that boat. But I think my money would, if you'd have asked me 6 months ago, more than 6 months ago, before Amazon announced they were doing the TV series, my money was on The Last Alliance for the next big one, because that just seemed the next step to go, because the lists need expanding on. They've sort of hinted at rules for models in the rule book that we've not got. Do you know what I mean? There's rules that reference models and profiles that we've not got yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I think the Amazon TV series, I think Damien convinced me that it would make complete sense to wait and see what happens with that before doing anything else with it.
Yeah, well, Damien's a wise man, so
annoyingly
he's
so.
probably right. He's probably right.
Yeah, so I think Moria makes the most sense. That's the way it seems to be, because we've done Gondor, we've done Rohan, and like you say, that they're established list that there wasn't really anything wrong with. I don't think. I love the additions we've now got to them and the changes that they've made to some of them, but I think for me it's Moria. I could be wrong. Who knows?
If a Moria book came out, I'd buy it. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not against the idea.
100%. It would be a cool one. Let's have a look. So that was John Marshall's question. We'll jump back in here. Michael Haskell asks, a quick reminder of tournament etiquette, maybe. Will, which ones are important to you in particular?
That's a good one. Be on time, for the love of God. As a tournament organizer and a player, just be on time and
day two's a nightmare.
Just get to your table when you're supposed to be there. Like, everyone wants to catch up and have a chat, and you know, like toddlers always need to go to the toilet. They should have had a try before we set off and all of that. You know, just be on time. Have all the stuff that you need to have with you. So don't bring models or take armies that you don't have the book for, because as a player, like if you're a new player, I understand, and you might not know all of the rules, but you should have at least a vague understanding of what your stuff does, because anyone can read a book and understand what the profile is. I think, good etiquette, just be polite. Don't take it so seriously. That's the main one for me.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had to just be like, right, you need to slow down, because you're like, first of all, you're making me crazy, and second of all, you're going to make mistakes, which you're then going to be really annoyed that you made.
Yeah.
Like, we've got plenty of time. Just slow down and take your time and decide what you want to do, because that's really important. And people are really quick to just fly off the handle and try and do everything at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I do think some of that is because when they acknowledge who they're playing against, and they might think, they know what they're doing, and sort of knocks their confidence a little bit. Like, just take your time.
Yeah.
We're just people. Like, just because I'm good at a game doesn't mean that you can't have a chat and a bit of banter with me.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm there for.
I think that's a good shout. I think just play your own game. I know it's easier said than done. I think when you're coming up against, I can remember the first time, playing Ed Ball, playing J Clare. The pressure does, you feel it. But I think you just got to take a breath and just think, do you know what? I'll just play my game. What will be, and have a laugh with it. Just enjoy the fact that you're playing, a player that's more established than you are. Try and learn something.
Yeah. I think another good etiquette thing is don't be offended if your opponent is keeping track of like your might, will, and fate and stuff.
I quite enjoy it because I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, well, and I always keep track of my opponents. Sometimes it's just in my head. Sometimes I don't write stuff down.
Yeah.
But if it's like quite an important game getting towards the end of the tournament, it's not because I think you're unreliable or you're cheating, but because SPG isn't necessarily an open play game, you can keep your plans and your thoughts to yourself. Me asking you how much might you've got on this hero and that hero would let you know what I'm thinking, and sometimes you don't want that to And also, it's just a safeguard against mistakes as well.
People make
There's
mistakes.
nothing.
I've been called out. Glyn, who's in the chat, has called me out that many times. Like, is saying like, Thrandall doesn't have form, mate. You cheat and get, because you do miss it. You forget. You forget you've done a cheeky heroic move, and you forgot to mark it off because you were busy thinking about what you were going to do with that move. It's easily done, and just kind of accepts that sometimes you might be wrong. That's
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing worse than having this scenario where you haven't written stuff down and you go, oh, well, hold on, I thought you only had one might, and they go, well, I've got two written down here. And the thing is that gives you nowhere to go. And what are you going to do? Call a TO over, and the TO is going to say, cool, you say you've got two and you say you've got none.
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything about it. Crack on.
Yeah.
So it's don't be offended if I write down your stuff, and I won't be offended if you write down my stuff. If I'm playing against someone like Ed or Jay, and they start scribing my stuff, I'll just let them do it. I won't even bother writing my own down because I know that they're well drilled and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I know how to keep track of mine and theirs. So if there's something glaringly wrong, I'll tell them and we'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Tanya's put a hilarious comment of tournament etiquette is have a wash before you come, and that stands for both days. Absolutely. Don't prolong the stereotype of nerds are smelly. It doesn't do anybody any favours.
And it gets hot, especially in the summer. It gets hot in them rooms. And it doesn't.
Absolutely.
You may have had the best shower you've ever had in your life the morning of a tournament. Bring some deodorant in your bag.
Yeah, just be a team player. Yeah. Just be a team player, guys. But yeah, so in summary, be on time. Bring the stuff that you need to have with you. Don't be offended if I write down your stuff, and don't be smelly.
Yeah. And
there we go.
And be a gent. Be a gent.
Yeah,
don't be that guy.
Be polite and remember why you're there.
Yeah, 100%. James Goodhamey says, a question for both of us. If money wasn't a factor, what army would you want to play and why?
Candice Chariots, done.
A full army of Candice Chariots.
So, maybe not full chariots, but like the riders.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I think they're 20 quid for two now, which makes it very hard to buy a full army.
Yeah.
They just look absolutely insane. So yeah, I don't even have to think. That would be the army that I bought if I won the lottery.
I don't even know what.
I'd pay someone who's really good at painting to paint it for me.
Gaz Baller, who's in the chat, is a great painter.
Maybe we could work out a good price when I win the lottery.
He's cheap as well. I don't know. I don't know what the answer. I haven't got an answer to that, if I'm honest. I'm in that weird possession where I'm a bit of a collector more than a gamer, so I have most stuff. Well, I think that's a lie. I have it all. Probably have at minimum 500 or 600 points of every faction, and then some factions about 3,000 points.
The thing is, you're a really good painter as well, so it's not even like you'd pay for someone to go and do it for you. Like you enjoy the hobby stuff, don't you?
No, I paint half of it and then put it on a shelf and forget about it. But yeah, no, it is a good question. I think there's probably a lot of people who have armies that they want to play, and maybe the price tag puts them off a little bit. And the only thing I'd suggest about that is, even if you went out and bought the army in one hit, it's highly unlikely you'd be able to paint it all in one hit. So buy it piecemeal and have it as a background sort of project going on.
Unless you're a psycho batch painter like me.
Yeah.
That's like my special move. I'll buy an army and have it done within 24 hours.
And then sell it within 48.
Well, yeah. I've got no response to that.
Nosy Cody has another question. He says, how much knowledge is a new tournament attendee expected to have by seasoned tournament players, as in checking rules during the match? That's a pretty good question, because it goes off what you've just said. So what would you say to a new player coming in? Just do we expect a certain amount of knowledge, or are we happy to hold someone's hand, if you like, sort of through the first few games?
So, as someone who I would consider to be an above-average player, I can guarantee that if you and me are having a game and you tell me that is your first ever game of SBG, I will almost definitely beat you, because that is why I'm at a tournament. But I will make sure that you learn as much as you can, and you don't feel like you've been taken advantage of. And that is the best I could offer somebody. I don't think, ideally you could have read the rule book, so we don't have to, baby step through everything. but I would be happy for you to come to an event and play me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell you everything that I possibly could to make sure that you learned and had fun.
Yeah.
I can't promise you'll win, but I'll give you the best time that you can.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody who doesn't do that should not be playing the game.
Yeah. I think that is a good advert for this community as a whole. I think I can't think of anyone that would be upset that they're playing a new player and would be annoyed that that player isn't as clued up on the rules as others are.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of people that might exploit that a little bit, unfortunately, and might see it as like an easy opportunity. But as far as I'm concerned, the best players and the people that are at the top of the league are the ambassadors of the game, as much as the community people like yourself are. I would hate to have people think that I was a terrible person and they didn't want to play me.
Yeah.
If people were not looking forward to playing me because I'm good at the game, that's one thing. But if they thought that I was bad or not fun to play against or things like that, is a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
And I think that it's everybody's responsibility as experienced gamers and tournament attendees to make sure that new people feel welcome and also can learn. And if you want to check your rulebook for something, that's fine.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask me, and I can probably answer it for you. But it doesn't mean you have to take my word for it. You check the book all you want. The only concern with that is sometimes people will use that as a bit of a time wasting thing. But at the same time, I'd quite happily say
that goes back to that thing about don't be that guy. And,
for sure.
There's no defence to that. If you come up against someone who is that guy and is doing all the time wasting rules, there's not, other than calling the TO over, which is the last resort because nobody wants to do that and because it creates a bad atmosphere. But other than doing that, there's not much you can do. Just if everyone just sort of had this gentleman's agreement not to be that guy, it would be a better world. But unfortunately, that's not human nature.
That leads on to Glyn's point quite well of what's the option of dealing with that guy who will question you, maybe bend the rules, measuring every millimetre, especially if you're just trying to have fun. If you're legitimately just there to have fun and you don't care if you win or lose, if someone is being that anal that you're not having fun, just drop the game. Like, who cares? If someone's being that bad and that's not why you're there, just forget it. My time is worth more to me than playing this unenjoyable game against you. For people who will sort of question everything and bend the rules a little bit, I mean, bending the rules is a different thing. If someone's cheating, you just call them out immediately. And
I would say to new players, don't be afraid to do that. I know it's a daunting thing sometimes, but if you honestly think that someone's having you over, because it happened to me at my first event at that Throne of Skulls. Someone blatantly cheated, and I was that unsure of the rules. I wasn't aware that they were cheating. I thought they were, but I couldn't prove it because I didn't know their army rules. And it was only when I spoke to who was it I spoke to? Big George. Only when I spoke to George, and he said, "Did you just play that guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I played." He went, "Did he do this, and this?" I was like, "Yeah." He went, "Yeah, you can't do that." I was like, "You just," and I obviously everyone else just kind of let it slide, but I kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like to the TOs, "He's done this. I've paid £35 for a ticket." Don't be afraid, because that's the only way we're going to stamp it out if people get called out.
Absolutely. I'd like to add the caveat that, like, even the best players can make mistakes, and we don't have everything absolutely rigid. But yeah, if you think that someone is deliberately cheating, then you should call them out on it. With the sort of questioning everything you do and measuring every millimetre, if you're not there for fun, we always want to have fun, but if you're there to try and win the event or at least win games, then just do it back to them and just be polite. Don't be sort of snide. But there's a really funny example of me and Callum Eden playing doubles at Ardicon last year. And we were playing in the final game, which was basically to get third place for the doubles trophies.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was I moved 4 archers sideways 3 inches to make sure that they could shoot. Moved everything up, and these 2 guys were like, "No, they can't shoot. They've moved more than 3 inches." I'm like, "No, they haven't." And they reached over to my side of the table with their tape measure, measured it, and it was exactly 3 inches. And they were like, "Oh, well, we thought it was more. Are you sure?" They started there, And me and Callum kind of just looked at each other and went, is this the game we're playing? Like, is this what this is going to be? And at that point, you just match their behaviour and you stay polite. But you're like, okay, well, clearly this is what we're doing. And as soon as you start questioning everything they do and measuring everything that they do back, suddenly it calms down and it's not an issue anymore.
Because to some people, that's a tactic as well. Like, questioning everything is a tactic. So they might not have necessarily even... They might have knew fine well you only moved it 3 inches, but a lot of people will play that game and they're like, did you do that? Are you sure? Because then if you're second guessing yourself, you're not thinking about the game and your tactics and what you're doing. And I think
as a top table gamer, I've got a little bit of appreciation for that, and I'd be lying if I said I hadn't tried to use the game outside the game before. But all you have to do is be even remotely robust and confident in your abilities, and suddenly that's not a problem anymore.
Yeah, I think another thing probably to say as well. It's quite rare if you're not especially if you're not in the top end of the table. If you're not at the top end, like tables 1 to 5 or whatever, it's quite rare. The community's great. This community 100%. Is the reason why I'm a massive nerd now. Like, it was just something that I'll go and spend a weekend there, and then next thing I know, YouTube, running events, spending all my spare time sat on my own painting toys. It's a great community.
And what I'd say to some of the new players, and this is with absolutely no arrogance whatsoever, or not intending to, but it's hard for me to try and explain how the sort of lower to mid tables will play and what their attitudes will be and what their etiquette will be, because for my sins, I'm more used to playing towards the top end where
I can tell you no problem.
Where a slightly more polished and competitive behaviour exists. So don't let anything that I say, if it doesn't sound appealing to you, put you off from coming to an event, because it is really, really rare. And as I said, if you ever play against me, I'll intend to give you the best game I possibly can.
I think another thing to bear in mind as well is don't be off put by one bad experience, because you're playing. A lot of people are coming into the room. Yes, a lot of us know each other who go to events regular or speak on a regular thing, but sometimes people are coming to their first event, or they might come on their own. They don't know each other. You don't know this person from Adam. This person might see social situations in a slightly different way than you or I do, and they might be, have that methodical side to them that they're not really in control of. It's just the way they are, counting things, checking things, and it happens. Don't take it personally. Just like we said, play your own game and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, without sort of going too much into a rabbit hole, just being polite and tolerant of everybody. Even if you don't get on with someone, I've played against some people who I actively detest, and I've played against some people who I'm pretty indifferent against. But the bare minimum you can be and should be is polite and tolerant. And if you do that, you can't really go far wrong.
Yeah.
And if everybody does that, then suddenly there's no problems anymore.
Yeah. We're very lucky in this community. Joe Holzman says Steve doesn't paint, he opens his wet palette, gets drunk and puts the lid back on. Yeah, pretty much, mate. Pretty much.
Sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, Mr. Entwistle's in. Welcome, Dan. Welcome, my friend.
No, Danny boy.
Wouldn't be a live stream without you, my friend. He says, only just joined, but a question for both of us. What's the most important factor that draws you to an event? Is it the fun-themed games, competitive throwdowns, or a mixture of the two? What's your answer, Will?
So I'm a little bit old school. So the thing that draws me to an event is actually the rules pack. So at my most competitive, i.e. last year, I'd go to anything that had 100 points on it. That's for a slightly different reason.
Yeah.
But I remember the old days when we legitimately thought that the GBHL was going to go independent, and we were going to have to sort of do it all ourselves. And almost every event pack and every tournament was a completely different thing. The points values were different. There was custom scenarios, there's custom list restrictions and special rules. And that shit is awesome as far as I'm concerned. And any events that I run within reason will try and have some sort of fun twist on it. We can have a little dive into some of the rules packs that we've got for our upcoming events. But the thing that draws me to it is like, is it cool? Is it different? Essentially, I can go to any bare bones 100-point event and have a good time because it still gets to roll dice with your mates. But if I can go to something where I legitimately have to think about what I'm going to take and how can I make it cool and what can I not take because of this rule and that rule, sign me up.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
Yeah, For me,
What about you?
it's if I'm totally honest, it's the attendee list, or it's who's talking about going, because
Is that why we don't see each other at events anymore?
well, to be honest, mate, I think I've been to like one event in 2 years. I just haven't got time at the minute. I'd love to be able to.
Crazy.
I'd love to be able to attend events as regular as I did a couple of years ago, but it's tough. But yeah, definitely, if I was going to an event, it would be who's going to be, because it's like I said previously, my takeaway from an event is definitely the social side of it. Meeting up with people I've not seen for a while, hanging out with the guys who are first like playing this game with, and know that I'm going to have a good weekend with, and
Yeah.
playing in the games is secondary. So, as bad as it sounds, if there was an event that I was toying with, and maybe no one I knew was going, that might be the clincher that made me not go. But if I knew a load of the old faces were going, then I'd definitely try and make an effort to go. Just
It
for
was
that
really
reason.
interesting today. Today, I went to a Marvel Crisis Protocol event, and I knew 0 people there, and it was weird, like being the new guy again. I know like events in general have been on sort of hiatus, but none of the Nottingham lads were available to go to this. So I went down, and I was the quiet guy sat in the corner. And I had like some good chats with some people. Sort of said hello, and we sort of chatted about the game. But it was really interesting, like going again. Like the attendees list is half the fun, and it's been a very long time since I've been to an event and basically had no one to talk to begin with.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I've got an overbearingly sociable personality, so I'll just go and talk to people until they talk back. So it wasn't so bad.
I think our community and the revival, if you like, and the fact that this system did get a new lease of life is hugely down to the people in the community who were just playing it like religiously,
Sure.
just playing anyway. I think if it wasn't for that group of people, it'd be this game may not be here today.
I think we had a bit of a recruitment atmosphere in that when we thought we were going to have to go independent, we basically needed all the bodies we could get, and so anyone that came to an event, everybody sort of felt this moral obligation to make sure they had a good time and be friendly, which is kind of like the best enforced fun ever. But then that's kind of remained. So now we've got hundreds and hundreds of people that want to attend events, and the atmosphere is still largely the same. So even people that aren't like first generation GBHLers came into that really welcoming and fun environment, and to make it inviting. And now they do the same for the next people that are coming in, which is exactly how it should be. Because you often see that sort of gaming communities can end up a little bit stale and toxic. The same people on top, and it all gets a bit sort of grumpy. And I think the GBHL does a really, really good job of not doing that, because everybody comes into this really nice, welcoming atmosphere, and that's reinforced when you actually attend the events.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I still have that mentality. Now, anyone in like Greater Manchester who is new to the game will probably tell you at some point I've pestered him in Element Games and said, why don't you try Middle Earth? Why don't you go over to and have a look at the models that go over there, mate? The class. Forget this 40k lark. Go over there.
Yeah, you kind of you want to be the Jehovah's Witness without browbeating.
I can see people's eyes rolling when I'm walking over to them in the hall. But to be fair, that just makes me do it even more.
Have you heard of our Lord and Saviour SPG? It's kind of what it feels like sometimes. But we're just passionate, aren't we? We can't really help ourselves.
But one thing I will say is a load of new people have played, and when they try it, they love it. There's loads of players who I met at Element pre them even playing the game, and now a lot of them play it and they're very passionate about it. So I mean, that's testament to the game, I suppose, but the community as well. Glenn says, I think he's responding to the question you answered before. He says, thanks for answering my questions, Will. I'm more into narrative play, stroke scenarios. My only match play games were at the Weekenders, which is an event we run or ran. You seem like a solid bloke and would be good fun to play against.
That's very kind. I'd certainly try to be.
He's a good lad, Glenn, and he's he might only like playing narrative, but he's got a gaming head on his shoulders, definitely. Mr. Daniel Entwistle says, the dark days really helped to build what we have today. I remember the scary days of 10-player events and no new models on the horizon. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? It is crazy.
Oh, my Lord, we've got a Damien O'Byrne.
Right, I think that's it. We'll go now, then. So, yeah. the GBHL, we touched on it previously about turning everything to an 80 point thing. The running of the GBHL, what's the outlook? Because you're part of the GBHL committee.
I'm the league secretary,
Yeah.
yeah. So when people want to run events, they essentially have to send their rules packs to me.
Yeah.
And I make sure that they're up to scratch, which is really ironic because some of mine are pretty dreadful. But we kind of wanted to make things a little bit more uniform. We want people to feel free to make whatever wacky and crazy events that they want to make.
Yeah.
Just with a couple of baseline things that make the league competitive. The main focus is sort of on 100-point events. With an 80-pointer, you can kind of do what you want, really, because it's supposed to be a fun event. So as long as people have fun, then you've done your job.
Yeah.
With the hundreds, it's just things like making sure that the correct information's on there in the rules pack, and also it's operating in a competitive way. So like Swiss ranked, so you're always playing against the people you're supposed to be playing against.
Yeah.
And just sort of just making sure that it's gonna be a good event and people are gonna want to go again, basically. So I sound like a baddie, but I'm not. I'm there to like make sure that your event is cool and is also going to work. So if you've got sort of custom scenarios or special rules or things, I'll just sort of, if I think that they might be a little bit unbalanced or they might need some tweaks, I'll just sort of offer a little bit of advice.
Yeah.
And also if people don't pay their fees on time and sort of be silly, I have to go and chase after them and put my face on.
Yeah.
That's basically what I do.
Yeah, I think having the league there is. Again, the league is one of the reasons I think why this gaming system and community is in the position that it's in. Great British Hobbit League was a driving force in that, and it kind of tied everyone together and kept it as a community. And there's so many events now. There's so many GBHL events. I think we're probably at the point of possibly getting to the point where there's a discussion to be had of what you do if events keep getting added. But there's loads of independent events as well. What has a discussion been had about if people keep requesting to have events? Is there a contingency plan for maybe League 1, League 2 kind of thing, or a 100-point league and an 80-point league, or because it would be tough, wouldn't it? And it would kind of take away the feel of what the league is now. Is there a cut-off point for the amount of tournaments that we could have over a year?
So that is a very long question, Steve.
It is. Sorry.
Basically, yes and no. So we are currently, COVID aside, let's pretend that we haven't just had a global pandemic.
Yeah. It's a mouthful.
At that point, we have to ensure that anybody who wants to run an event in our league gets the opportunity to, because we don't want it to become an elitist thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, we need to make sure that anybody who is going to run an event in the league is going to be a good fit. They're going to basically be a positive experience for people that are attending, and also that they align with our views and how they're going to do things. We've put a lot of work into making this a really healthy, competitive place. And we want people who are going to join to improve that. So the current procedure we have in place is if Joe Bloggs comes in and decides that he wants to run an event, we can offer him an 80-pointer to begin with. That's because they're generally less serious. They're more equipped for fun, but you can essentially, run it however you like. Within reason, and if that event runs and it goes really well, we get good feedback, and we haven't had any snags or real bad issues that we need to deal with, you'll then be eligible for a 100-point event next year. So from a TO's point of view, that's how we do it, to make sure that as many people get opportunities as they can. And also just making sure that they've got the facilities to do so. You can't offer an event in your garden, basically, and just have some pop-up tables and things. With regards to the expansion, that's more of a reactive issue, because we kind of don't know. We have to engage it year by year. So we have things like the events request form, which people can send to into the GBHL if they want to run an event, and that will give us an idea year on year of how many people we've got wanting to do certain things. We then need to make sure that the league remains competitive. So if you basically say anyone who wants to run a 100-pointer can, you could end up with 30 100-point events in a year.
And what that some means of them might only have 10 people in, and
exactly what that means is then the most competitive players who just want to win the league and don't really care about how they do it will essentially go to the far end of a far and cherry pick the events that they know that other competitive players aren't going to go to.
Yeah, go to the weaker events.
Yeah, and that's really bad, because what that actually does is it imbalances the way you win the league, because currently it's based on your top 4 scores. And if someone can just sneak off and get 400 points really easy, it devalues what the points are worth. But it also means that you've got like 12 dudes that are really happy to have an event in their local area, and I rock up, smash everybody into the ground, and walk away with a trophy. Like, no one's benefited from that at all. And so it's important to get the balance of people wanting to run an event and also the league remains competitive and healthy. How we do that, I actually have no idea. If to pick an answer right now, I think if I had the Wizards hat on and I got to choose, the way I would go forward, should there be demand for it, would be to increase the amount of 100-point events in the league, very, very gradually. Maybe a couple more. Maintain restrictions of things like trying to avoid back-to-back 100-pointers week on week. Sometimes it happens because scheduling is scheduling. There's not a lot you can do about it. But try and avoid it to give competitive players a chance to.
Scheduling, I think, is the hardest thing. I've come unstuck trying to book dates. I mean, I think I've spoken to you about it in the past. It's a nightmare trying to liaise between the league and then where you're having your event, because then by the time you've liaised with one and gone back to the other, that date's gone, and it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah,
but, I mean, that's a testament to how busy it is.
Yeah, Matt King has a really unenviable job of having to try and juggle all of this nonsense, and he does a far better job than I would. But essentially, in a nutshell, what I would do if I had the magic hat would be to gradually increase the amount of 100-point events, maintain event spacing where possible, and increase the amount of scores taken into account for your ranking proportionately to the events we have. So currently, I don't think that 4 events is enough. Like your top 4 scores. It worked last year, but before then we've had multiple occasions where 2 players have had to go on to their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th tiebreaker because they've both hit 400 points. But equally, if you dilute it too much and have lots of 100-point events, that makes that easier for some people. So there's like a balancing act in there somewhere. But I'd increase the amount of 100-pointers, and I would increase the amount you need to score proportionately to how it is now, because it clearly works now. It's just getting a little bit hard.
Because I think the way things are going,
I put my faith in Ali King to sort of come up with the right concept, because he's
in the chat
does
now.
a pretty damn good job.
He's obviously taking notes in the chat now, isn't he?
He's thinking, listen to World Champions ideas. He knows what he's doing. I'll write it up fancy.
I think if it keeps growing, if the this hobby keeps growing as it is going to come to a point, I think, where there's so many people applying to have events, and everyone wants the big events. Everyone wants to run a big event. Is there, so let's just say I'm a new TO and I want to run an event. I've run an 80-point event. It was fairly successful, and I want to run a 100-point event. What's the criteria? Is there a minimum number of players that are tickets that have to be available? Is there certain things? Does it have to be a 2-dayer? Blah blah blah.
So there's no restriction on 1-dayer or 2-dayer. Generally speaking, I'd advise that you have enough games to get a true winner. So there's maths, but essentially, if you've got 24 players and you play one game, you're going to have 12 people on one win, in theory. And so making sure that you have enough games to try and get it down to 1 is advisable. So normally, having a 1-dayer doesn't work unless you do 5 games at really, really low points. With regards to the restrictions, I believe it's currently you have to have 16 players attend for it to be a 100-pointer. Your venue has to hold at least 32 people for it to be a 100-pointer, and there's probably a couple more things in there. that I should know, and I apologise.
Well,
I don't.
I know you're not going to know.
Purely because
yeah, I know you're not going to know everything.
Well, I would probably normally know this stuff, but it would be, having been doing rules packs for the last 6 months for people running events, so I'm a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could also see in the future, where there's growth and lots of new events, probably losing some of the old ones, because when we've got hundreds of people that want to go to every 100-pointer event, places like Ripon that can only hold 24 people are no longer valid. And that's sad for me, because that's my event. Ripon's my hometown. We've done it for 5 years or so. But I completely understand that having 24 tickets for a competitive event is not enough. And there's nothing worse than, it's really nice when your tickets sell out in an hour and things like that. But when you've then got dozens and dozens of people wanting to go on the reserve list, and you know that a lot of them aren't even going to get a spot, it's pretty sad. And so where you'll get lots of new people wanting to run new events, you will lose the old ones, as we have to gradually increase the minimum capacity numbers. But it's like a little bit of sad news for excellent growth of the league. So you just got to kind of take the rough and smooth on that one.
Yeah. It is tough. I mean, I think we're both in a fortunate position. Like, your events are always popular. Scouring has always been popular, which I'm truly grateful for. It kind of took me by surprise. It still does. And I mean, I've changed venue 3 times with Scouring. It started off in a church, like little church community hall. Then went to.
I was there, Steve. Yeah, been there since day one.
Got a little bit bigger, and now we're at Element Games. Just the main reason the main reason that Element is because the studio for the YouTube channel's there. But the other reason is, like you say, people wanting to go and not being able to go, and wanting to be able to sort of open that up. I'd love to. Even now, I've got a waiting list for Scouring. Even at Element Games, there's a huge waiting list, and it's weird this year because of COVID and everything. But I would love to see one year maybe just open it up and see what it could do. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Events like Ardicon show that there is clearly a demand.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think if you did a really solid event for a reasonable price in the UK, you would probably be able to get Ardicon's numbers from UK people. I think we're at that point now.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
Unfortunately, it's finding the person with the balls to try and run that, and also the person with the time and the venue that can hold it.
Yeah, the venue's massive, because you don't. If you've got that many people, that's the other thing. If you've got that many people, you don't just want like a hall, like a cold hall somewhere. You want it to be. You want it to be as what's the word I'm looking for?
Dope as hell.
You just want it to have that vibe that your smaller event has. Yeah. That cool vibe where.
Yeah, this is it. It's would I burn Ripon down to be able to host a 100-man event? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's nostalgia for me. It reminds me of the olden days where half of the events were at pubs in function rooms.
Yeah.
And not only does that mean that you can get pissed as you play, which is the best thing about gaming, but it just has that more intimate atmosphere, and you can, all get a pub dinner when you're finished and just play some drinking games. And I think it's just the olden days, and maybe we have to be a little bit brutal and kind of let that go and maintain the traditions, but find it on a bigger scale.
Yeah,
because I know what you mean. Like a hall's a little bit blank, and it's not got that sort of nice community feel. But at the same time, if I could run a really, really good 200-person event in a hall, I'd do it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think I do an all right job as well. I'd maybe one day is what I'll say.
Yeah, stick a pin in it, mate.
Yeah, I'll put it on the to-do list. Maybe we can collaborate, mate.
Well, top table.
Can you make 100 boards?
I'm trying. I'm trying. James Good, Hamey goes back to when you commented about that you look for rules packs at the events that you look to go to, and he says, when talking about rules packs, what are the things you look for when wanting to go to an event? What is it in the rules pack, I think he's saying, that would catch your eye and make you want to go? I think you just said like cool stuff before.
So yeah, it's not necessarily, for me, really simply, it's not necessarily the thing that would make me change my list. It's the thing that would make my opponents change their list.
Okay.
Because I maintain that I'm a very versatile player and I can pick up almost any army and generally do quite well with it. and you've got other players which are only good with their comfort list. So from a competitive point of view, if you put some sort of restrictions in there that stop people taking what they want to take and make them have to think, that brings me a great deal of joy. And I like a challenge as much as anybody else does. And for sort of friendly events or fun events, and generally for both, like cool scenarios, like custom scenarios that you've made yourself, as long as they work and they're watertight, and you know, just anything that makes your event unique is great for me.
Yeah, I rarely read rules packs, so I literally turn up at the first game and go, so what's in the rules pack then, mate? What do you mean? What do you mean? I should have brought 5 wargs. What do you mean? Yeah, but let's have a look. Damien says, Will, when you imagine wearing your Magic League hat, what does the hat look like?
See, Damien's coming in with the real hard questions now. I tell you what, Damien, I've got a pad of paper in front of me. So we'll do some more questions and I will draw you what I think the Magic League hat looks like.
I imagine it being a lot like Gandalf's hat, but maybe bright red or something. I think that's what it looks like.
That sounds like Father Christmas thing.
Yeah, no bobble on the end though, no bobble. Glenn says, question for both of us, could a narrative event be possible? Either scenarios, good versus evil?
Yes.
A narratives event is, we've thought about running like a narrative event, low numbers because it'd be quite hard to organise, but me and Jay spoke about it a long time ago about maybe, you know, with my boards.
Yeah.
Have it where you go along the boards. So you'd have, you know what I mean, you'd follow the story of the narrative through the boards, but again, it would just mean making a load of similar boards. It's just that's the thing that's put me off.
I know, like Warhammer World have done it before, where you can be the goodies or the baddies, and so you'll all do the same scenario, and then they'll see how many good teams won it, and how many bad teams won it, and then that would like roll over into the next one. And there'd be like a small benefit for who did it, and then eventually they'd say like who won, the goodies or the baddies at the end of the event, and that sort of stuff's really cool. Hell of a segue here. So one thing I like it's kind of narrative themed. So the next event at Seventh City that hasn't sold out yet, is the King's Call to Arms. Yeah. So I ran this for the first time last year, and it is bananas. But essentially what happens is you are a battle company and your king has basically sent out the call to war and you need to go and join him on the battlefield. And so what you do on the first day is play 8 games of battle companies. And they're only like 45 minutes to an hour long. They're not too bad. And what you do through that is you build your roster as good as you can, you experience everyone. And there's a few like rules in there that'll help you out. So like you'll get a free companion to encourage people to like paint up their, you know, eagles and wargs and stuff like that. And a few fail safes, like in case your hero double ones it immediately, because that'd be rubbish. Once you've played your 8 games, for day 2 you will then take your battle company in whatever condition it's in, because they might have had a really rough time along the way, and you will factor that into a 700-point list for day 2.
I remember that,
and so like the leader of your battle company will then become a warband leader, and so he will lead a normal warband of troops. Your sergeants from your battle company will then split the rest of the battle company in half, and they'll be like minor heroes on their warbands, and then you'll play like 3 normal games, and that is like super flavorful, because people have made all sorts of conversions for their models. And like I did a really stupid thing last year that I'd like to do again, and that the first scenario, basically everyone was like scouting for food for their battle company, and they ended up on this farm, and I had a load of like D&D farmyard animals that I painted up, and basically it was like you had to grab an animal and get out, And then what people found out afterwards was each animal had a profile and like a special rule. So like if anyone got the cow, it was basically monstrous cavalry. Like so if you beat the person's battle company, you could capture their farmyard animal and stuff like that. Just really stupid stuff that's literally there just to like add a bit of flavour. And so we had 12 attendees for that last year, and people absolutely loved it. It's a little bit brain intensive because you've got to like do all the paperwork for your battle company, but the payoff on day 2, when you've got like all of your uniquely painted up and converted models factored into a normal army, and you've got all of these like mini heroes running around doing epic things, like I can't think of anything better.
Battle companies is cool, and turning it into putting it into a rules pack that means you can implement those heroes that you've built up and use them on day 2 is a good idea. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. You've already built up a relationship with those characters.
Yeah, exactly. You've already got this affiliation or affinity with them, I should say. And the kind of the extra thing on top of that is the way that it opens up for like your conversion opportunities. So you can have loads of like awards for like best converted, best painted, best theme for your battle company and stuff like that. So like narratively, the opportunities are endless.
Yeah, it's cool. It is good. And what date's that on?
So that one is on. Pause for effect. The 17th and 18th of October.
And there's still tickets available.
Yeah, still tickets for that one.
What's the details? How much are they? How did they get them? Let people know.
It is on the Seven City Collectibles website.
Yeah. And
it is £30 for the 2-day event.
That's awesome.
And there's going to be all sorts of cool goodies and prizes and stuff.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So get on that.
10 out of 10 would recommend to a friend.
Yeah. Well, people, like you said earlier, there's loads of people out there who've not been able to game or get to events for going on 4 months now. And I think as long as we're not silly and we don't mess up the easing of restrictions, and the event organisers are doing it in a safe manner, then we should be good. We should be golden. So it's just deodorant and face masks that are a must.
Pretty please.
How's this hat coming along? Alistair says...
So the hat.
Now that is a fancy hat, mate. That is a fancy hat. Go. Look at that.
So what we've got there...
It actually looks like Damien's wearing it.
So what we've got there is we've got like a crown, because the person who's in charge like writes the rules and he's the boss man.
Yeah.
And then we've got like a second crown, because you know they probably don't have a girlfriend if they're in charge. They haven't got time. They're too busy, writing the league rules and stuff. And then there's like a mini top hat and just some jangly bits for effect. That's where I'm at.
Silver tassels like Thorin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what the league hat looks like.
Alistair says he actually has a big red top hat for when he puts his league coordinator hat on.
Yeah,
I can picture him in a big red top hat, to be honest.
I can picture him in a big red top hat and then just his pants.
I was going to say just his underpants, yeah. Just his
I
Dudleys.
expect nothing less.
And a pair of brogues. Damien's saying your event sounds absolutely glorious.
Thank you very much, Damien. Tickets are still available. We'll be lovely to see you.
Yeah. Keep selling it. But yeah, that's it. Don't forget, guys. Any other questions? Whack it in the chat. We've actually hit our time, but we can stay on for another 15-20 minutes.
I've got nowhere to be.
That'd be cool. You've got another one, the Gates of Gondolin, which you touched on, another 80-pointer. What date's that on?
Gates of Gondolin is the 5th and 6th of December.
So it's a nice Christmas event.
Yeah. So that one is a pretty straight-laced event. It was originally supposed to be in April. It was a 100-point event. We've postponed it back to December. So it's now an 80-point event. There is a minuscule chance that it could be upgraded back to a 100-pointer, but I would not even worry about that.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's based around the fall of Gondolin. So again, there's still some theme there. Essentially, you'll play 1,000 points for 3 games on day 1, and then you will drop to 600 points on day 2. And you can only comprise that 600-point list from things that existed in your day 1 list. And all of the scenarios are going to be randomly rolled, the kind of usual stuff. Tickets wise for this, because it's an event that's carried over from COVID, we essentially need to offer the opportunity to everybody who was originally attending to sort of decide what they'd like to do with their tickets, whether they'd like to attend this event or sort of move on to the next event, etc. And then tickets will be available. So realistically, the main one that I recommend everyone comes to is the King's Calls to Arms.
Yeah.
Because I can absolutely guarantee that unless you came to it last year, you will not have been to an event like it. Because no one else has done anything even remotely close to it.
Not that I can recall anyway. Yeah, that's good. There's not many. To be fair, there's not many Battle Companies events. We had a 1-day Battle Companies event at one of our weekenders, which was a lot of fun and everyone enjoyed it. Army of the Dead walked it, but yeah, no, I can't think off the top of my head anyone else who's done a Battle Companies event. I might be wrong. I don't know. Can you?
So yeah, there's certain like fail safes that you have to put in there. I didn't want to ban any Battle Companies, but basically the Rangers of the North, Iron Hills, and the Army of the Dead have all got a huge advantage in Battle Companies. But the winner of the event was the army that scored the most tournament points. So there was tournament points for day 1 and day 2, and obviously winning a game on day 2 when there's only 3 games is worth far more than winning one of the Battle Company rounds.
Yeah.
So there was also an award for the best Battle Company, which was based off their rating. So like maybe one of those ones will take the prize for that. But you have to imagine, with the exception of Iron Hills, if you have to upgrade your Rangers of the North to then be a full Rangers of the North army, that's not winning many games at 700 points. So it kind of comes full circle.
Yeah.
But like just a raw Battle Companies event, you might have to do something about those 3 lists, because you pay 3 gold the same as everybody else, and you get a 30-point model instead of a 5-point orc. Some things were created more equal than others, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Damien said, "Where am Barnold?" I'm not sure what that means. David,
he's asking where Barney is. I actually speak Damien. Unfortunately, Barney had some commitments this evening that he needed to attend to. Yeah. So you're stuck with me.
Yeah, he couldn't come. It was a last minute thing, which is a shame, but we'll get you guys on again, definitely.
I'm super keen for the top table gaming takeover.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and it's definitely 100% going to happen. We've got, I don't know when it's going to be. Who knows when it's going to be? Probably closer to Christmas. It'll probably be around Christmas time, to be fair. It might be around your event weekend.
What a nice coincidence that would be.
Could be, because Christmas is a quiet time for me, work-wise. Well, yeah. I say that, it wasn't last year, but hopefully it will be this year.
What could be super excellent is if we could arrange it for like the day before the Gates of Gondolin event, so you could come on the Friday and we could do the whole shebang, and then maybe you could do some roving reporting over the weekend or something. Right?
Or we could come on the day and we could just stream top table.
Yeah,
that'd be
sounds awesome.
That'd be a shout. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Where are we? Alistair says you should have a pic of his hat. He says.
Oh, I have. Yeah. Is there a way for, if I send you a picture, can you share the screen?
Yeah, if you send it to me on Facebook.
Because this is actually mad banter. This is the league coordinator's hat.
While you're doing that, Glyn says, would you love to attend Steve's Weekender 3?
I would love to attend anything that Steve does. One of the unique opportunity, well, I say it's an opportunity. One of the unique problems I have now is I'm going to spend so much of my time organising and hosting events that I'm actually not going to be able to attend a huge amount of events myself. So I'm going to have to be very selective about what holiday I take and what events I go to. Not to say that.
I feel
not to say that Steve's events won't be in that section. But.
I feel your pain. It's the same because obviously we've got a normal life outside of hobby stuff. I work normal hours. Weekends are the time when we film most of our content, which is why attending events took a massive hit for me, because weekends is when we film battle reports and stuff. But the fact now that we are somewhat getting back on track and we still have all our kit to go live, which we were just just getting going before COVID hit. We did a few live stream battle reports from inside the gaming hall at Element, which proved very popular. They were great. But we want to take that on the road, and we want to have like guest commentators. You'll get an invite, Will, obviously at some point.
Sounds phenomenal.
But yeah, we want to do it, and that's it's definitely on the cards to come. We said we were going to come to 7 City, so it's 100% going to happen.
Awesome.
Have you sent it to me?
I've sent it, mate.
Yeah, I'll dig it out now. If you want to see if there's anything in the chat you want to pick out, buy me a bit of time.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Damien's disappointed that there's no Barnold, but it does make the panel 50% Wanderer, which he's very happy about.
Right, I found this picture. I'm not sure if the public can take it though.
We've still got 30 people listening to me. That's pretty amazing to say that I've been talking for 2 hours now.
They must be mental.
Yeah, they've probably all gone to bed.
Let's have a look. So if I add this here, now this is like crazy stuff. I'm doing stuff midstream here now. Let's try that.
The suspense is killing me.
I need to add it in there, don't I? There we go.
Any more questions, people? Ask me something interesting.
Oh, show me the picture. There it is.
I think Alistair commented earlier on my beard as well. I think he's jealous.
I chose to ignore it because I knew it was a flippant remark.
Our league coordinator being flippant, don't be ridiculous.
So yeah, so anyone who doesn't know Mr. Alistair King, he's the league coordinator. I'll pop him up on screen right now. So you should be able to see him with his glorious hat. I can't believe he's actually got a red top hat. He's got a top on though. He's not, no underpants or brogues. That's a shame.
Very disappointing.
But yes, that's Mr. Alistair King. Feel free to save that as a screensaver for your phone, or add to your contacts. Try and find my chat now. Now you've made me break everything.
There it is. Look at that. Wow. What a guy.
He says the regret is instant.
Does that not scream authority to you?
It's not a terrible pick, to be fair. It's all right. I think he's got away with that one.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, John Marshall says, any advice on how to deal with Cav if I can't take any myself?
Hello, John. Yeah, so most armies have got shields in them, you'd hope, or some way of parrying. My recommendation for cavalry is shoot it as hard as you can, for a start. But when it does come in, if you've not got all of the attacks that you'd like to have, especially when cavalry charge in, you essentially want to make sure that you have as many dice as physically possible per combat. So if that means that you have to shield, even if it's a case of shielding with 2 front rankers where you might only have 1 spearman, so it's 4 dice instead of 3, essentially what you want to do is minimize the amount of damage they can do. And the only way you can actually do that is to win the fight. So take any opportunity you can to win that fight, and then next turn, it becomes a heroic move off. And unfortunately, they might win the move off, and it'll happen again, at which point you try and maximize your dice as best you can again. And if they lose the roll off, suddenly they're very stuck, and it becomes, single dice for them, and they're very easy to trap. They have big bases, which means it's really easy to do a slingshot and get a load of troops plus a hero 1-to-1 on a flank, and then call a heroic combat and trap them all. Essentially, the way to beat cavalry is to survive the first contact. And the only way you can do that is by literally maximising the amount of dice you have in your hand.
Trying to match the dice. What would your advice be to someone who would ask on the same theme? When do you strike the horse rather than the rider? Obviously, riders who are like defense 7, you're going to go for the horse. But is there a certain rule that you always go off as to when you try and take a rider off his horse, or do you take the opportunity to try and kill him even if it's a harder kill?
So that actually depends on the composition of the army or what cavalry it is.
Mm.
So if you are running something like, let me think, if someone's running like all Rohan and you're wounding the riders on 5s and they've got lots and lots of cav, if you're strength 4, then obviously you go for the horse, because any troops that they're going to have like half your numbers realistically. So anytime that you're taking them off their horse, which is everything they've got, is an advantage. Makes it really easy. If it's something like Rivendell Knights, you almost definitely go for the horse every time. If you're infantry, because suddenly you take a few of their horses away, not only have they lost like half of their cavalry if you kill 4 or 5, but it also means that the rest of the cavalry then have to commit and they can't run around and shoot you because you've basically cut down their numbers too hard.
Yeah.
If they've only got like a token amount of cavalry, like just a few riders, then you go for the rider and give it a go. It's important to remember that a lot of the time, a lot of the best cavalry in the game, so things like your Riders of Rohan and your Rivendell Knights, they're much worse off when they're on foot because they've got too much war gear for when they lose their horse. So if you could knock an elf from defense 6 to defense 5, and a warrior of Rohan from defense 5 to defense 4, it's almost always worth going for the horse.
Yeah.
But if you've got like really high strength, for if it's a hero, you definitely go for the horse. You want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, there's a pretty good argument for almost always going for the horse, to be honest. Yeah. The only problem is if you go for the horse, then it fails, and you have another dice, and you're going to go like horse rider.
Yeah.
Then double down on the horse. It can feel like a waste sometimes. What you've done there is vastly reduce their killing capability for next turn.
Yeah, true.
So almost always go for the horse, I guess, is what I'd say.
Good shout. Glyn asks, is there any profiles that you think are too strong in the game currently?
Too strong?
Nothing jumps out at me that I can think of.
No, I think a lot of issues are being fixed as they come up. As I kind of alluded to earlier, some things are made more equal than others. Basically, anything that you see top table players repeatedly taking and multiple players taking. Yeah. So, like the Spider Queen is fine, but then you take the Spider Queen in synergy with something else, and she is utterly obscene. So, like you take her and the Shadow Lord, and it's awful. But generally speaking, no, I don't think anything is too strong. I think some armies are significantly better than others. Lake Town are really good. The Rohan Legendary Legion is really good. But you still have to be a good player to get the most out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's a lot more balanced than it used to be.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of player skill is things that make things overpowered in SPG, not the armies themselves.
Alistair says the underpants and brogues are for patrons only. And then Joe says, about that picture, is that going to be the basis for the next meme competition? Could be. You'd have to go back and watch the video and screenshot it and cut it out and meme it. But yeah. Let's have a look. Yeah, they'll just talk about things that they did. The Gondorian Games just popped in and says, what up, everybody? What up, dude? But
what up?
We've come to a pretty natural conclusion in the chat. So I think we'll just start winding it up, Will, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, it's been nice to have a catch up, mate.
Yeah, it's been good. We had some good questions.
So I can talk about SPG all night.
I know. I could just drink and talk crap all night. So
why not both?
But no, it's been good. Thanks to Will for joining us, and thank you to everyone who joined in the chat. It has been a good one. I've missed doing these, and I think what we'll do, we'll definitely, when Barney's available, we'll get you two guys on again, because I think having you two guys on, you're both a lot more knowledgeable on list building and the more competitive side than I would be. And a lot of people do ask me questions about list building and army, and I'm just like, don't know, mate. So I think there's a desire for people out there to have a forum to ask people these questions.
Yeah, well, I seem to be doing the rounds on YouTube at the moment. I've been on quite a few different podcasts and stuff because I absolutely love chatting nonsense. So whenever you want me on, mate, to chat about anything, I can drop in.
Well, we'll do it. I think it'd be a good shout to do the Speak Friend we originally planned live from Seven City. I think.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And we can give people a bit of a heads up, and we'll start a thread, and people can post a few questions in there, and we can just sort of cherry pick some questions and sort of divulge into them as best we can. But yeah, that's it. I think we'll call it there. So I will see I'll turn the chat off in a second. But yeah, thank you everyone who joined us. It was a lot of fun, and it's been good. I look forward to the next one. I'm not sure who's going to be on it yet, but I'll find out, and I will see you all soon. So take care, guys.
See you later, guys.